keep them in your home or love to see them in theirs. These are the creatures that bring us all together.
Reptiles. We're going to be delving into the experiences of reptile lovers from around the block and around the world. This is the Reptile Talk Podcast.
Boom! What is going on, everybody? This is Jeremy Turgeon from Brassman Reptiles.
And I'm Robin. I'm keeping it real.
Hey, and as some of y'all can see, if you were watching on YouTube, I'm in similar familiar spaces. Excuse me, because we've been moderately displaced after the hurricane last week.
Jeez.
So yeah, but we're here. We're chugging along. Everything's good. We're happy that things were not worse on the western side for us personally. But I would strongly recommend if you want to learn how to help or get more information on what's going on in North Carolina and how you can help some of those affected communities, head on over to the USARC Facebook page. And there's a whole list of links in the comments for different ways that you can help and get involved in all the states that were affected by the hurricane. So you can go check that out. And because I can tell you firsthand what's happening on the news or what's being showcased on the news is a small fraction of what's really happening out there. And the devastation is pretty crazy. So definitely thinking of everybody that's been affected. I know some herpers in the area, Eastern Tennessee and Western North Carolina were hit pretty hard. So reach out, get involved and help if you can. And if not, at least share some links with some folks for sure. But on a brighter note, we're doing all right. Animals are okay. Things are still moving along. Animal Con is this weekend. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be fun. And as always, this episode is brought to you by Black Box Cages. Make sure you go check them out. Link is in the description, blackboxcages.com. Go check out. Wow, today it's that day, guys. It's that day. Go get yourself a new cage, a new rack, some new husbandry supplies, and go check them out. Again, link is in the description below. And yeah. So, Rob, how are you doing today?
My area basically got missed by the hurricane. I still had to work on Friday, and through the morning they were like, "It's windy, and you'll be fine." And I was like, "I don't know about this," and so we got like a little bit of wind, a little bit of rain, and like a little bit of flooding, but honestly, not bad at all. No downed trees in my neighborhood. Like we've literally had thunderstorms that hit our area worse than this hurricane did. Which is very different than your experience of where you were at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we so just for a point of reference for those that care about geography and things, the French Broad River, which runs very close to our apartment complex, is about a 4-foot deep river. It's a fairly small river, at least by us anyway. It crested at 30 feet. Jeez. That's ridiculous. Like that. I just need people to understand like that size difference. And yesterday we went back up the mountain to Asheville to just kind of inspect our apartment. And now that the waters have receded, we were able to see some of those spots that were underwater, and it's crazy. And I think one of the things that stood out to me the most outside of the destruction was the embankment of dirt that kind of goes up, and then there's Highway 240. All of that vegetation, small trees, shrubs, and everything is now pointing in the direction of the flowing river. Like it is just going, like it's all bent and broken, and I was just like, whoa, man! Like that's a very bizarre. So everything's a bizarre sight to see, but if you're not paying attention to the chaos with the buildings and you just see that, you're like, what is this? Like, this is very, very bizarre to see.
Yeah.
So, oof. Anywho, back to happy things. Please, back to happy things.
Yeah, for real.
Super excited about tonight's guest. of course, really quick, one final business thing before I forget. We're still dealing with the Facebook chaos. So we are streaming this live video only on YouTube. So if you're listening here on YouTube, thank you so much. Do us a favor and share this video out because Facebook is still not allowing us to share the video, which is ridiculous. But yeah, unfortunately, I really don't understand why. But share this out. You can share it on Facebook with the YouTube link and people can check it out as well. But thank you to everybody that's here. And I'm super stoked for tonight's guest, Christian Cave or Caveman Wildlife. You have probably seen him on social media because his social presence has like skyrocketed. Recently, he was featured on ESPN catching alligator snapping turtles, which is ridiculous. Yeah, an amazing environmentalist who's just like fired up for wildlife and conservation. And I got to meet him at Animal Con last year after talking for a while over social media. So I'm stoked to have him here tonight. Let's get him in here right now. What's up, dude?
How we doing? How we doing?
Good, man. How about you?
I'm doing better than I deserve. Yes, sir.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah, dude. Well, we're super stoked to have you on, man. And we were talking a little bit beforehand. We were saying how normally we interviewed hardcore reptile keepers and breeders and stuff, and we're branching out. We're going into environmentalist land, and we're super stoked about that. But for those of our listeners who don't know who you are, don't know what even got you into the animal world, what's something that got you into reptiles and animals and conservation work?
So yeah, I grew up in a little area called Kennesaw, right outside of like Atlanta, Georgia, and so Kennesaw is a really cool place because it's like really pretty and it's like a lot of suburban type stuff, but for some reason there's just a lot of wildlife around here. Like a lot of it still has really great like nature parks and different things like that. And so where I grew up, we had a literal big creek cutting through my neighborhood. And so when I was a kid, like my brothers and stuff like that, they were more interested in like sports and more traditional things like that. And I was always just somewhere messing around, flipping rocks, finding salamanders or centipedes and scaring my mom half to death with them and stuff like that. And so my dad, he's an engineer. And so he was like, got a kick out of it. He's like, oh, this kid's going to be like a biologist or something like that when he grows up. So he would really like foster and invest in that when I was growing up. So insects were like my first passion. Like I'll never forget like finding a praying mantis for the first time. And like, that was like the most insane insect I'd ever seen in my life. And I remember asking my dad, what the heck am I looking at? And he's like, oh, it's a praying mantis. And I'm like, it's praying? And he's like, no. They just say that. His hands are folded. And we took it home. And I remember like just researching everything I could online. I'm like 6 years old. My dad's helping me get online and look up how to keep this thing as a pet. And that just like was kind of my childhood. I would just catch bugs and random things like that. And then go to the library in school and take a book out and try to read about them and learn about them or get on the internet. And then maybe in that same time in my life, I remember, you watch TV, so the Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff. And then I go to like, for me, it was Channel 61, Animal Planet. And this Australian guy hits the TV and he's like, good eye, I'm Steve Irwin. And these are all the venomous sea crates, and he's holding up, these stupidly venomous snakes and stuff like that. And so I remember from that moment on, I was like, oh, okay, snakes are sick. Like snakes are cool. And so from that point on, it was just all like, now I wanted to catch snakes and find stuff like that. And so that was just kind of how I grew up. And then when I got into like high school and things like that, I was able to like, of course, do more, go out more with my friends and stuff. And we'd go out and mess around and try to find turtles and snakes and things like that. So yeah, that's how I kind of got into all of this stuff.
Hell yeah, dude.
Dude,
Is there
I really think that so much because like bugs were definitely my first love too. My mom had tarantulas before I was born, and so when I was little, I would like walk around while she's doing tank cleans and stuff. She would just like pop them on her shoulder and just just aviculary, just pink toes and like brachypelma and stuff. But she would just like pop them on and like we walk around and I bring them to show and tells and stuff. And so I was always fascinated with bugs too. And I don't really think I found a praying mantis until I was like almost a teenager. It was just like so rare to see them in the area because I was like just outside of Boston. But edge habitat, you see so much cool stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed. So yeah, I love bugs. We used to have a big orb weaver that would make webs in multiple orb weavers would make webs on our back porch. And so what my mom and I would do is we go to the front porch, turn the light on for an hour,
Get some
let
moths.
all the moths and stuff come, catch
Yeah.
a couple, bring them over to the back, and then toss them in the web and just watch them eat for a couple hours. So
Yep.
always the bugs got to start the passion, man.
Yeah. I feel like they're like the perfect gateway. I remember the same thing when I got that praying mantis, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep it as a pet. I remember turning the porch lights on and just like waiting for moths and throwing them in there. And I thought it was like the craziest thing ever that this bug just like grabbed other bugs in front of me and just ripped them apart. It's crazy.
Mantids are brutal, man. They just eat it while it's alive. They're just like,
oh yeah, dude.
Top 10 worst ways to die.
Still to this day, when people ask me like, "What's your favorite animal?" Like, "What's your?" I'm always like, "Oh, praying mantis is hands down." I couldn't pick a species, but I just kept so many different species growing up. Once I fell down that rabbit hole, that I was like, "Oh yeah, they're the sickest things ever."
Yeah, they're very unique creatures.
Hell yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
And you used to keep some ghost mantids, right? If I remember correctly, a little while back.
Yeah. So it was like after I kept that regular. All right, so it was kind of depressing. So when I kept that, so I caught that first praying mantis, and that was like a regular Carolina mantis, Stagma mantis Carolina, like super common all over the Southeast and whatnot. And I remember my dad went away for work to like do something, and I was home, with the praying mantis and the rest of my family. And like I said, my brothers really weren't into like the animals and stuff like that. I was the only one. And one day I go in the room to check on Manti, my praying mantis, and it's just like crumbled up like on the ground. And I remember I am like so like taken aback. Like I was ready to feed it a moth, and now she's just lying on the ground all messed up looking. So I'm like, 6 or 7 years old. I'm having a full blown meltdown, like a full, like I'm bawling my eyes out. I'm like, what did I do? Like, what happened? Did somebody kill my praying mantis? And my mom is calling my dad while he's at work, and she's like, Christian's like, he's losing his mind. He's like, he doesn't know what's going on with mantis. And then my older brother decided it'd be funny to tell me that it was illegal to kill a praying mantis and that you'd go to jail if you did that. So this whole time, I'm already tripping out about my mantis dying, but now I think I'm going to jail. So I remember just like walking around the house. I'm like, my dad's like on the phone. He's like, Christian, what's wrong? I'm like, I'm going to jail. Like I killed the mantis. I'm going to jail. And he's like, what are you talking about? And so it finally comes home like a day or two later, and the mantis is like alive kind of still, but he's like, I just read online, like when you keep a praying mantis, you're supposed to provide them with sticks and branches and stuff in their cage so they can hang upside down to molt. Like that's how they get bigger. And so it didn't have that. It was just in like a smooth plastic container, tried to molt standing up and just, crumbled in on itself. Yeah. And so from that day on, it was like, all right, I'm locking in with praying mantises. I'm going to learn everything about them. And then that turned into like over the next couple of years until I was in my teens, I was like ordering. That's when I found out you could order insects online and stuff. So I was like, let me get a ghost mantis, or let me get this and let me get that. And it was also perfect for me because like I said, I was really into reptiles and I really wanted like a leopard gecko or cresties or something. But my mom is like terrified of snakes and lizards and stuff like that. So the only thing she was willing to meet me in the middle on was praying mantises and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, well, I'll lean into the bug thing and stuff like that. I kept a couple giant centipedes without her knowing. I don't think she would have liked those, but
oh my god! listen.
The
On the
secret's
scale
out.
of things that are cool, okay, like would be cool with a mom. It's like, okay, mantises are cool. Maybe a lizard. Not so much a snake. Turtles might be a little bit over that. Centipedes are below the floor. I'm telling you, like. Even for me, as somebody who's into this stuff, like if my kid was like, "Oh yeah, I've been hiding a centipede in the room," I'm like, "Oh man, you are grounded for the rest of the year. That's it. That's a wrap."
Like the compromise we made, my dad was cool with it all. So like he was like, "Okay, all the bugs and stuff have to stay in my office and stuff." And so I had a little rack set up in his office with all my lights and stuff. And one day he comes in, and I have this new Tupperware set up with just like 6 inches of dirt and like rocks. And he's like, "That's not a mantis cage." And I'm like,
maybe it is.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not. He's like, "What's in there?" I'm like, I just found this small centipede. He's thinking like, this little, and he's like, all right, well, as long as it stays in the cage. And then one night he texts me a picture. I guess he was just chilling in his office, and he heard, and he hears scratching and this massive Scolopendra Heros is like chewing on the plastic, trying to get out of the. And he's like, dude, you did not tell me you got like a 10-inch long centipede in my office. And I'm like, yeah, it's just chilling. Like it's
fine. It's fine.
Just through the hard plastic, I think.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was bugs were like my first passion. I got really into freshwater fish too. That was really fun. I still love that stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because if you look at my page today, like a lot of people assume like, oh, this guy's been like a herp freak for like years or whatever like that. And it's like, it really wasn't until I was like 18 and onward I got into herps, because it was like, I couldn't bring a snake inside, or like if my mom saw me even catching a snake, she'd lose her mind. So it was like, once I started able to go out and do my own thing and things like that, I was like, oh, herping is like so fun. And like, I'm going for this snake or that snake. But yeah, like to this day, it's like, if somebody said like, oh, you have to give up like herping, or like you can only look for freshwater fish or insects, I'd probably choose insects or freshwater fish, honestly. Like there's just so much stuff like you can find with those guys.
Yeah, I think it's just harder looking for insects because of the amount of places that they can be. A lot of them are just really hard to find.
Yeah, and then you'll spend so much time looking for stuff. Like there's one species of mantis in the southeast I've never seen that I've been looking for years, and one of my buddies on Instagram just sends me pictures of them on like the sides of gas stations and just random stuff like that, and I'm like, dude, I've spent like hours in pristine Florida scrub habitat looking on bark trees for this praying mantis, and like can't find this thing, but there it is at a school on the side of a wall or something like that.
There it is, 7-Eleven.
Right.
Yeah, exactly. So,
what are they doing in 7-Elevens in Florida? I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, it's like how do we create that habitat in captivity? Well, grant some cinder blocks and a couple LED signs, and they will come.
That's all it takes for a praying mantis to be happy. Yeah, a couple of cinder blocks, LED signs, some bugs in a place to hang.
It's the big gulps, man. Let's be real.
It's the big gulp.
It's the big gulp. Yeah. Yep.
Oh dang.
Oh my gosh.
Hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. So a while back you did a documentary on the Eastern indigo snake. That was freaking insane, dude. Like the effort that went into that, and I can't even put it into words. I remember seeing you post all about it, and I was like, okay, well, I want to, check this out. Expecting it to be like a vlog style, kind of like I'm out herping, looking for, Eastern indigos, and hope I don't get arrested doing it. And it was like this, but it was like this whole amazingly put together video, and I was just like, holy hell. From going to the Orient Society and talking about the habitat and all this stuff. So what was I have to know, this is a selfish question for me. What was the driving factor to even do it?
Did you see the Colombian government is spending almost $4 million to relocate Pablo Escobar's hippos?
In Brazil, a school of piranha attacked and injured at least 8 people at a beach resort.
First fatal mountain lion attack in 20 years in California.
Hey, it's me, Forrest Galante, wildlife biologist. You may have seen me on Joe Rogan's podcast or my various TV shows like Extinct or Alive or Shark Week. So join me and my friends as we break down animal news from around the world and discuss all things wildlife. Click here to unlock these animal mysteries.
Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the morally posturing, like, virtues?
Give us both.
Really just want
Give us both.
All right. So the morally posturing, like, virtue signaling answer would be, Eastern indigo snakes. I mean, you guys already know all about, one of the most impressive snakes, honestly, in the world, but definitely the United States, and an imperiled species, lost so much habitat. And it was like a cool opportunity to like shed light on that and maybe tell a story about a snake that like not a lot of people have even heard of. Like even in Georgia, like even though that's part of their historical range, a lot of people here just had never heard of them. And then the honest, like true answer, that's probably the most prominent reason, I wanted to hold an Eastern indigo without getting arrested.
Legit. That's so legit, though.
Yeah. So I remember that was 2022, and I remember like ending of 2021, sitting around on college campus with my buddies, who helped me film everything. And we were just kind of like, dude, like we want to make a debut on YouTube. And like, and still to this day, I kind of neglect YouTube out of all platforms, but we get into that later. And I was like, well, what's a cool way to debut? And we're like, dude, what if we did like a documentary? And I was like, oh yeah. Like we could do some type of crocodile hunter-esque documentary, like, make it really cool. And then we were like, well, what would we do it on? And we're like, well, we're kind of broke college students, so we're not going to go travel to Australia or do something like that or something crazy. And so like, okay, what can we do? And we're like, well, what if we made it out of something native, like something that comes close to home? And then we started talking about eastern indigos and alligator snapping turtles. And then it was like, I knew that the Orient Society, like I had followed them a while ago on Instagram and stuff like that. And I just remember like kind of putting the idea off. And then I kept thinking about this, like, dude, it would be cool to do a documentary. And I had bought this like Sony camera and all this stuff. And I was like, you know what, man, I'm just going to DM the Orient Society. I'm not going to plan anything out. I'm just going to like DM them. And if they actually like kind of call my bluff and go, yeah, we'd love to talk about that, then I'll storyboard out something and actually I can start making out a plan. And so I did like high school theater and stuff like that too, for reference. So like I was like familiar with the idea of telling a story and stuff like that with video. And I was really always into that. And I had my buddy, he's an actor. So it wasn't like we're completely in over our heads. Like we were like, okay, we know if like they say, yeah, we're down to do a documentary, we know how to basically storyboard a production or something like that and work from there. But we'd never done anything like that. And so sure enough, I DM'd the Orient Center for Indigo Conservation, like the facility down in Florida where they're breeding them. And they responded back like the same day. And they were like, yeah, we'd love to talk. And so we were like, well, oh, shoot. And so we respond to them. We set up a call with them. And then we reached out to the Orient Society itself. Those are actually two separate, like the Orient Center for Indigo Conservation is like a part of the Central Florida Zoo, whereas like the Orient Society is like its own entity. And so we reach out to the Orient Society. We get on a call with Chris Jenkins and the CEO of the Orient Society and all that. And they were like, yeah, we like it. Just, like, let's do it right. And let's do it, do the snakes justice, tell a good story. You guys can come down and stay on the preserve and we'll go out and look for wild indigo snakes. And so the story kind of started writing itself in that way, because we were like, oh, shoot. So we're going to actually get to go out on like a research survey for the eastern indigos, and then we might get to catch one. And so we were like, yeah, let's do it. And so we're at the storyboard. And how we did it was we went to the Orient Center for Indigo Conservation first. We got to see the breeding facility. They have the sickest outdoor enclosures to sort of simulate the natural seasonal cycles for the indigos and stuff. They made these like makeshift gopher tortoise burrows in the sand. And I remember they handed me like an adult male for like my first one. And dude, just holding this like 6 foot plus eastern indigo, dude, I was like, it's not venomous, but I was shaking, I was like, holy God, like this is like an eastern indigo. And you can just tell, it's just so intelligent. It's just like a different snake. And it's, I'd never held a Creba, like I'd never held anything like that. So it was just like holding something like that in my hands for the first time was incredible. And then a couple weeks later, we like logged all that footage, and then we're down in South Georgia doing an eastern indigo snake survey with the Orient Society. And we're out in like pristine longleaf pine savanna, like looking for these eastern indigos during the day. And it was a really weird day because it was pretty cloudy and pretty cold. And, they can move in the 50s and 60s and stuff that real well. But still, it was like the guys I was with, Ben Stiganga, he's an amazing researcher. He's been working with indigos and alligator snapper stuff for years. He was leading us on that one. And he was like, I'm not going to lie to you, today's conditions aren't ideal. Like if it was this temp, but full sun, I'd be like, oh yeah, we're kicking. But like how much cloud coverage there is, I can't guarantee one, but I won't say that they're not like on the surface today. And so we're shining, we're using like mirrors and stuff and reflecting the sunlight off them to look down into the burrows, look for tracks and stuff. No indigos. And dude, sure enough, our camera gimbal died. And so my buddy and I, Chris Jenkins and Ben, go up over this like big hill. And my buddy and I are deconstructing the gimbal real quick. And we're like, okay, we're just going to take 30 seconds, take this apart. We're not going to miss anything. And over the freaking hill, like 10 seconds later, we hear, indigo. And we're like, oh, shoot. So I'm like sprinting through the briars and just getting sliced up by all these leaves. And I like run over this hill, and Chris Jenkins has this like gorgeous 5-foot female in his hands. And he's like, I'm sorry, dude, I was going to let you catch it, but she started diving down a gopher tortoise burrow the minute she saw us. And I was like, no worries. And dude, it was like, she was fresh shed. And I think she was the first female found on that property in like 5 years or something crazy like that. So it was really cool to have a wild, like freshly new to the study caught female, like an adult female. We got to mark her, tag her, like, take the measurements and all that stuff. And so, yeah, that was kind of the gist behind it. And then it took me like a year to get to editing that footage with like school and all that stuff. But like when we finally sat down and did it, we were like, all right, let's make this like really cinematic and like let's do drone shots and do all this crazy stuff like that. So I was really proud about how that came out. So I appreciate you gassing me up for it for sure.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I'm telling you, when I saw that as an independent film, like going so in depth and going to the right places, getting to have an experience like that, like nobody does anything like that. So like when I saw that, I was like, okay, this dude's got some shit happening. Like, what's going on, man?
Dude, yeah, maybe I'll do another. I've been toying around with the idea of another documentary, and I saw Chris Jenkins a little bit later last year, and I was joking. I was like, yeah, we should do another one with like hellbenders or something like that. And he's like, dude, let me know or something. So I was like, maybe
hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, maybe we should get one going. I got a buddy now who can do underwater videography and photography and stuff. So maybe we'll run up some hellbenders or something for a documentary. That'd be cool.
Dude, that would be so tight.
Hell yeah.
Oh, I'm down for that. See, I need you to do that because the waters where hellbenders are found is entirely too cold for me to get into. So I really don't want to freeze to death looking for them, but I would love to see some.
Dude, I can't blame it. I have them like I've never seen one, but apparently like I have them within an hour from me, like just North Georgia and all those streams and stuff. And my buddies have sent me pictures while they're fly fishing and stuff of just like massive hellbenders walking up basically onto the shore, just like looking around for stuff. And I'm like, dude, I'd totally go up there and like look for them and stuff like that. But dude, that water is freaking cold. Like I've kind of been up there and, looked around while I've been up there. And I'm like, dude, this sucks. Like, I won't lie to you. Like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And it's pretty habitat. But dude, you're just like, you're shaking and it's summer and you're still just shaking, walking around in the creek. And you're like, dude, this sucks. So I don't blame you.
Not built for that. Not at all. Dude, no way.
If it dips below 80 degrees, Rob is putting on sweaters. So
listen, man, my dad's from the Caribbean. I got all his blood, man. I cannot. If it's under 80 degrees, I need some fucking long pants and I need a sweatshirt.
Dude, I'm a summer guy all the way, so I feel you. I'm like, I'd rather be super hot than freezing cold any day of the week.
Literally.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I don't mind sweating a little bit.
Yeah.
So do you have any trips planned for the end of the year or into the beginning of next year?
Dude, yeah. So recently I was able to kind of put it together where I'm going to be headed to Peru at the end of the year in December. I kind of made like a goal to myself that I wanted to try to check off a lifer that I've been, everybody obviously would, but like I want a green anaconda in 2024.
Yeah.
And so like, I was like, I'd love to see if I could go find a wild green anaconda. So I'm going on a eco tour for like a week with a couple of guys that I've never met, but they seem really cool. And then the next week, one of my buddies is actually going to be joining me out there. So I'm really excited for that. And we'll spend the last final week towards the end of December in the Amazon in Peru. And then we'll head back and stuff for Christmas and all that. But yeah, I haven't done any trips or really anything like that this year. So it just kind of all mounted up, I guess, for right at the end of the year. But yeah, I'm really excited about that.
That's tight, dude.
Yeah,
Anacondas are definitely one of those like iconic species. Like, here's the deal. A lot of the people who herp, they say lifer about everything. They're like, oh, it's my lifer. And it's like a milk snake or something. And it's like, don't get me wrong, milk snakes are cool. But like when I hear lifer, I think of like, this is a peak life opportunity to find this thing. And like green anacondas are that, man. They are so cool. And then their habits, the way that they live is also just like so fascinating.
Dude, yeah. It's gonna be weird because I'm like, you never know how you're gonna encounter it or what you're gonna encounter, So like part of me is like, yeah, I want to like see this massive body like pop out of the water and then slide, and then I jump out of the boat, and then all the part of me is like, I don't know if I want to do that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I got bitten by a water snake earlier today and was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to take that bite like in that water.
Literally.
and then get wrapped in like massive coils or something crazy like that.
Yeah, maybe 5 foot anaconda is okay.
Exactly. Part of me's like, maybe we'll just do a 4 or 5 footer or something. It still look cool.
It's solid. It's still an anaconda.
Yeah, and I've never. They're also something that I've seen like 1 or 2 in captivity, maybe like like where like a friend had one and was like, oh yeah, and like I've looked at them, I've seen them up close, but it's like I don't know their behavior or anything like that. So that's definitely gonna be one.
Boy.
Yeah, that's gonna be one where I have to really feel out as that happens. I'm like, because when I was in Ecuador in 2023 with a biologist, his name is Alejandro Arteaga. He's like, this dude's the GOAT. Like he's like. We were joking around. I was calling him like the Batman of conservation in the Amazon because he's just like he's just like that guy to me. Like he took me to like his preserve and we were looking for all these herps and stuff to log for a bio blitz to help protect this area from gold mining. And long story short, I was like asking him about green anacondas because I was like, oh, I'm in Ecuador, like we got to get the green anaconda this year. And he's like, well, check out a Blackwater Lagoon on this trip that like the locals have said they've seen green anacondas, but I'm not sure because I don't know if they've been like marked going this far or something like that. And he was like, yeah, man. He was like, they're different. And I was like, oh, yeah, trust me. I was like, yeah, I know. And he's like, no, man. Like,
no, you don't.
Yeah. Because I'm like, I caught a 9-foot berm in the Everglades. I'm thinking I know big snakes now, And I'm like, and I'll never forget hearing this story. Like I played in my mind when he told it, but he was like, yeah, it's different when you get a big one. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm sure. And he's like, I remember he was like, he just finished a book called The Reptiles of Ecuador. I literally have it sitting right here next to me, still in its packaging. And it was like these years for him to write this book. And part of the years writing it, we're not only just getting the accurate stories and the natural history of all these species and the range and stuff, but was getting pictures of them. And so he wanted, how he told me, and he's like, well, it's a green anaconda. You want the green anaconda for that picture in that book. So we're going to go to this big lagoon area in Ecuador where the gigantic anacondas have been just sighted for years now, and we're gonna go catch one. And if I'm not mistaken, like if he sees this, I hope I don't overzealously tell this story, but how I remember him telling me this story is like he's on a boat with like 3 other. I mean, Alejandro is like 6'3", big muscular guy, and 3 other guys that are like same build, same size, and he's like, we finally come up on this anaconda, and he's like, we know it's big because we can't see the rest of it, but part of its body is on land, the other part's off in the water. And he's like, this thing is huge. Like it's thick. Like it's thicker than all of our bodies, our arms. This thing is like a big snake. And he's like, we get out and he's like, all 3 of us, we like creep up through the grass on this big anaconda and we dive on this thing because we're preparing for a fight, and we grab its tail and we just, kind of we're grabbing its body tail. We're trying to pull it up on the water. He's like, this thing's not moving. Like it's just not, it's like not even like it's kind of sort of like, working its way into the grass, but it's not fighting. He's like, dude, we tired out. Like we just couldn't get it. And he said it just slowly saunters off into the swamp and disappears.
Yep.
We just didn't get it. I was like,
that's ridiculous.
I'm like, wait, you didn't get it? Like you just saw the end. He's like, we didn't get it. Like he's like, we just like that was the snake we wanted for the book, and it just didn't. That one was not caught for the book, and I was like, oh dang. So like, I'm sure I'm gonna be dealing with something that's definitely not in my wheelhouse, but we'll have to play it by ear for sure.
See, part of me is like, man, I would just like work my way up to the head, and then I'm also like, its head was underwater, which you probably wouldn't have been able to see it. Do I really want to go near the head of an anaconda that's that big? Probably not.
Rob's gonna have a Brady Barr situation.
I got a bad back. I got a bad back.
It's just, dude, yeah, like it's when you hear stories like that, it's like quickly your dream ideal moment starts to be hit by reality, and I'm like, yeah, there's totally the chance that I see one, and I'm like, I saw it. Like that's cool. Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
okay,
right.
I got the picture.
Exactly. Quick iPhone video, be like, there's one. I'm not touching it, but there's one
right here.
yeah, exactly. So we'll see.
Anacondas are different, and like one of the things from working with captive anacondas is that like a lot of snakes will give you all this like notice that they're angry and that they're going to bite you. Anacondas do not do that, man.
Don't.
They don't fucking
Seriously.
do it. They're super chill. Everything's mellow. They don't tense their muscles at all. And then until the very moment that they bite you, that's when they tense all their muscles and like swing around and grab you. Yeah.
No
It is-
way.
It's very
It's
bizarre.
brutal.
It's very
It's brutal.
bizarre.
No way. So they
Yeah.
go from like super mellow, like just calm, to just bam.
And
Yep.
they usually don't like. I've only a couple, like usually it's just baby anacondas, but usually they don't like flail around or anything. They act like super chill until they know that you're like close enough, and then boom, they just like hit you like a freight train.
Yeah.
And
It's like
Whew.
the what is that, the 1-inch punch kind of deal?
Yeah,
Just
yeah, it was like- it's just
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, well, that made it 10 times worse now. Like
Yeah.
now
Like-
I'm thinking, so I can't let my guard down. Like I can't even like even if it's calm, I can't really be like, okay, yeah, it's just chilled out now. Like
Well,
no.
you can, but it's probably gonna bite you.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez. Because like I remember
Yeah,
when
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure.
I remember when I caught a berm. I didn't. You remember catching like a berm in the Everglades? Like my first time it was like a 9-footer, and she was like the biggest snake I'd ever caught, hands down, or maybe even held. Like it was like massive to me. And I remember first couple of seconds, it's throwing itself over its own body. Like I posted that video, and it's like I literally that's the most Steve Irwin I've ever felt like in my life. Like I have this thing's tail, and I'm like, oh, like doing the whole little hop back and step back. I'm like, that is like scaring the heck out of me. And then after like, a minute, she was like tired, and then I like picked her up, and then she kind of like went for my leg at one point, but then it was like once she kind of like, it was like, okay. And then she's just like kind of chilling with me. So it's like, I guess I cannot chill with an anaconda.
Anacondas
No.
don't do that because they don't
No.
waste all that energy. They are masters of conserving energy, and so they don't freak out. They don't bug out like your friend was saying. Like it didn't panic. It literally was just like, I'm just gonna keep cruising right on in
Yeah,
here. And
they know
if
they're the
had
big
tried to
dog.
get to the head, it's like, oh, okay, you want to mess around? About to
Yeah.
smack.
Jeez. And dude, those teeth. Have you ever been bitten? Have you either of y'all been bitten by one?
Not
like
by large
babies,
ones.
but-
I've been bit by like up to like 4 or 5 feet ones.
Was that bad?
And it was for the size, it was pretty bad. But it wasn't the worst, but they've got so much because like
Coming from the
there's
guy
so-
that keeps scrub pythons.
yeah, but like scrubs, if you look at the size of a neck of a scrub python compared to the head, you're like, okay, there's some coming behind it, but not a lot. When you get
Yeah.
hit by an anaconda, it's like a tree trunk. They don't have a neck. It's just like head into snake. Like it's just all muscle, and it
Just-
aids in them being able to move through the water really well and grab their prey and being able to overpower it. But like there is so much that comes behind it that like it is strong. It's a lot of punch behind that snake.
In nature, they're like, are they water edge ambush? I thought I've read or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That's mostly where they're spotted, is along the water's edge. And I've seen some videos where people are going through like reed areas that are shallow, where it's like on the edge of a river, on the edge of a pond, where it's like, I don't know if I used to go herping all the time for water snake, like northern water snake.
Yeah.
And the edges of the water where all the reeds and the cattails are.
Yep.
In areas like that is where they hunt, where it's like you'd get small big game coming in to drink and do this and do that. And they've seen some really big ones in areas like that because it's easy for them to hunt. It distributes their weight really evenly, but they're still able to ambush in the shallow water.
Wow. Yeah. Jeez, dude, that's crazy. I would be thinking of this. It's so funny because now I know, like, all of that, everything you said is going to be flying through my mind at 30 miles a minute. If I'm creeping up on it now, I'd be like, dude, holy cow. Like, don't relax. Don't get complacent. Like, this thing.
Don't get complacent. Yeah. Especially if it's a big one. I would not get complacent.
Right, looking back at whoever's driving the boat, does that look like 4 or 5 feet to you? I'm just trying to gauge what this flight's going to be like.
Yeah, the guide is like so confused. He's like, I thought you said you wanted one. I'm like, no, we'll move on to the smaller one.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
great to
smaller
see
one,
that
yeah.
one. I'm happy I saw it.
Yeah, that one is that's a looker. That's a looker. Yeah, not a catch. Not a catch. Oh my gosh. Dude,
Bruh.
that's cool. That's cool.
Hell
Are there
yeah,
any
man.
other target species you're going for while you're down there?
Caveman.
Yeah.
I got my first experience with any type of like real like crocodilian in Ecuador last year. One of my highest targets on that trip was a trigonatus. Like I really wanted to find like a nice crown caiman when I found out they're in the area. And I was walking through the last night, that morning I found a rainbow boa, which was also like one of my highest top 5 targets.
Dude.
And dude, that one was wild because I caught that whole like moment on GoPro on accident. I was like given this real esoteric, like full circle, like vlog moment where I was like, yeah, this is my last day here. It's been a really nice trip. Like, you know, blah, blah, blah. And like mid sentence, there was this tree that I would walk past every day to go herping that had these like gnarly looking roots with like a cave inside of it. And I was like, oh yeah, there's probably rodents or something using that thing. But not in a million years, broad daylight would have a thought like a rainbow bow would just be cruising out of that thing. And so I just, in mid sentence, I look up and I'm like, oh my gosh, like freak out. Like, and like this thing is like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life, dude. It was like perfect condition, just all the iridescence in the world. And the funniest part is like, I was like maybe half a mile away from like base camp, and I was screaming so loud that like Alejandro and the other guys we were with just come running out because, you know, they're like, oh God, did he get bit by like a fertile ants or something like that?
Yeah,
like,
Bothrops. It's a Bothrops. I know it.
yeah. They're like, oh geez. And like they just see me like, you know, holding this like beautiful snake, and we were all got a kick out of it, like, oh, that's so sick. And so later on that night, we're walking through the jungle, kind of exploring a newer section, and there's a really nice creek cutting through all of it, and a lot of freshwater fish and crabs and tetras. Like I told you guys, I'm really into fish, so I'm seeing wolffish and all these tetras that like I kept growing up, and I was like, dude, this is so sick. Like, look at this is awesome. And Amanda Casada, she's a biologist that I was with, and we were kind of looking at the different eye glints on the creek. And a lot of the times I was realizing over there, I would see an eye glint and think I found like a frog or a snake, and it was just a massive spider, like just a gigantic tarantula, or like or like some wandering looking spider, like, you know, over there. And so we're leaving, and it's like starting to rain. It's like 11 at night now. The rain's starting to come down, and we see on a little faint, like Amanda's like, oh, what's that? Like, what's that? And I'm like, what? And see this faint orange glow off in the woods, and it's like 7 feet away from the water though. So like in my head, I'm like, oh, that's like a big spider or something. And she's like, no, that's not a spider. And I'm like, listen, like, I know you've been working in the Amazon for like 10 years now, but look, I've been here for 5 days. I'm an expert. Like, that's a spider. I'm like 100% a spider. She's like, no, go check what that is. And I'm like, all right. And so, dude, I walk up there with my flashlight, and there's like a 3.5 foot long crown caiman just like staring at me, like, you know, its head's popped up. So I lose my mind, of course. I jump on that guy, and we were gonna bring it back to take pictures for that book I was telling you guys about. And dude, speaking of getting complacent as earlier, dude, I once again no experience with crocodilians. It like gaped when I caught it, like it opened its mouth and it was hissing. But I do the little video thing, and doesn't snap, doesn't even wiggle. I put it down on the ground, and I have a little bit of rope with me that I brought for like some type of crocodilian. And so I'm doing the Steve Irwin thing, you know, tie its mouth shut. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to bring this back to camp. We'll get the pictures and all that. Let it go. Still no issues. No problem. Caiman's just chilling. It's kind of ground. Like I can hear it kind of hissing and puffing up at me, but nothing crazy. Dude, I got complacent. I'm talking to my GoPro and like, okay, I got its mouth all tied shut so it can't bite me. I take my hands off its head.
Oh,
boom, just like swings its head back and clips me on like the chin, and it barely missed. It like hit me on the chin, and I was like, oh, did you see that? Like, it almost still didn't put my hands back on it. It was like, all right, part two, swung back, cracked me dead center in the face. The metal part of my glasses just slices my nose like right open. Like, so I'm like bleeding through my nose. It starts wiggling away from me. I'm wrestling in the mud, and Amanda's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm embarrassed. I'm like, oh, no, I'm good. Like,
no, we're good.
I do this all the time. And so I'm going. So quickly I learned in that moment, like, you know, crocodilians, you cannot let your guard down at all with those guys. But apparently the area I'm going to will be full of like black caiman and spectacled caiman and trigonatus and copperbrosis maybe. Yeah, so I definitely like to see if I can, like, you know, catch all the caimans that are out there or something like that. But those are there. But dude, like insects, the Peruvian hooded leaf mantis, like that's one of my favorite mantises on the planet. Those are all over there. So they're really hard to find. I found one my first day in Ecuador sitting on a bench right next to me, like in the like at the research station. But I spent hours the rest of that trip searching the jungle, didn't find any that whole trip, the rest of that. Yeah, couldn't find them. Electric eels, I think that would be cool to see electric eels and like arapaima and stuff like that in the wild. I'm a big freshwater fish guy, like I told you guys.
Be
So
careful with those electric eels, man.
Yeah, bro.
I don't know how hands-on that will be, but like if I can find a small one and like maybe net it or something, I think it'd be cool to just like put it in some shallow water and talk about it or something like that. But yeah, there's pretty much everything there, man. I'll be excited to see.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's one of those things that I always think about is like when you're going for one species and you're not thinking about the other. Literally the other day I was chasing a black racer down this trail. Like I was walking down the trail and it's stretched out right next to the trail. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to try and get close to it. And it's like not really taking off. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll try and get really close to it. And it like turns around and just starts like heading down into this hole. And I'm over there and I'm like grabbing, trying to see if I can do. And I look up a little bit and there's two copperheads like almost eye level with me. And I'm like sticking my hand in this hole. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't stick my hand in this hole. Right now.
Oh my gosh, dude.
You know, it's like, maybe I should just be a little more aware of my surroundings are going on right now.
Yeah. No, you get that tunnel vision on something, and then, dude, you realize you're like, oh crap, there's a lot more around here than that. Like, yeah.
You're like, this anaconda right here. Oh, electric eel.
Like, yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm hoping that does not happen, or any like black caimans make an appearance while I'm diving in the water for an anaconda or something like that. That would be that would turn to a fun situation real quick.
Yeah, that definitely makes herping. Yeah, it definitely takes herping to the next level when it's just like, yeah, I'm going for that. And there's also a chance that within the next 5 feet of my existence.
Yeah. Dude, yeah.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah, dude.
Cool. Dude, I'm very envious. I've not been herping South America yet, so that's definitely on my list.
Dude, it's I know like a lot of people like prefer like to go like Asia and all those other places too, but like I kind of knew I was like the first place I want to go is South America. Just for like insect stuff too. Like I knew even if I got skunked completely herping, the manises alone and like spiders and stuff would be worth it.
Bro.
Dude, the avicularia over there were just once again, like saw them in pet stores, but like, you know, I saw the small ones, dude, just hand-sized avicularia.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And like, it was like to the point where like, I never thought I'd see them and get like, not annoyed, but like be like, oh, cool, avicularia. But dude, every hole at night in like a cabin or a tree just had legs sticking out of it at dusk. Like you could just see the avicularia were just there. And then on the ground, the megaphobema, like there was like those Ecuadorian velvet bird eaters. So like I would see these big holes on the sides of the mud, and sure enough, I'd like peek in there and you'd see big brown hairy legs sticking at the front. And I would take long blades of grass and like tickle the front of them.
Tickle them out. Yeah.
Big female would just come diving out, and I try to put my hand over the hole before she'd go back in, and it was just like crazy. So
is that robustum that's there, or Velvetasoma?
Velvetasoma. Yeah, Velvetasoma. Yeah. Cool. Dude, yeah. So I caught one big female of those, but they were smart. They were surprisingly harder to get out of the holes than like the avicularia were. Like the avicularia would sometimes kind of like rush all the way out, but the bird eater or velvet bird eater or whatever it's called would just kind of like dive out real quick, and it would quickly be like, oh, there's like a trick. Yeah, and just shoot back in real fast. And I was like, oh shoot. I sacrificed many a katydid trying to get those guys out. So not my proudest moment. I felt horrible. And some of them I was like, oh dang, like did not mean to give this whole katydid to this tarantula, but yeah, we got one eventually.
Damn.
The katydid's like, pull the lever, Kronk.
Yeah. Exactly. Lever was not pulled.
That's sick.
Oh, damn.
I always dream about finding tarantulas out in the wild. And when I went to Utah and when I went to Arizona, I was able to see some tarantulas. Actually, when I went to Utah, I saw tarantulas, but just like a phonopelma stuff. But being able to see a avicularia and some of the other things, I'm like, oh man, that would be so freaking cool.
Yeah. And they go up into Central America too? like Viculari and stuff
so.
like that?
Yeah, I believe so.
I think so, or something, or maybe I don't know if the Psalmopius or something like that, but
Some of us definitely do. Yeah.
yeah. So that's cool. Yeah,
I'm envious. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm hoping the tarantulas and stuff are in full force. I really want to do videos on Phaneutria, so I'm hoping I get someone. Dude, I don't know if you can help send me some representation guidelines, but dude, I cannot tell right now. My eyes, Farah versus Boliviensis versus Wrightii, dude. I don't know how. Like I've been on INAT. There's like this expert guy on there. I forget his name, and he's like, "Oh, you can easily tell this is Wrightii because of the striping on the pedipalps." Is not, and I'm like, I can't easily tell that. Like I cannot. Like, they all kind of look furry and banged and venomous.
Bitey, yeah, they look bitey to me. I don't know, like they all look kind of bitey to me.
Yeah, they all just look fast and mean. So yeah. We'll see how that goes.
I wish I had a better reference for you. I don't. I'm sorry.
I'm still looking, so hopefully I'll find one before I go.
That's cool.
Hell yeah, dude.
So do you find that like certain times you're looking for certain species, or just like opportunists, like whatever comes up that day is what you're gonna film on?
Dude, it's funny you said that because I'm like kind of re-gearing my focus the rest of this year and going on for now for like to YouTube. Like I've been mainly like sticking to building up Instagram and TikTok, and it's fun, but I'm like ready to like do more cool long form stuff like the documentary and stuff. And so the other day, my buddy and I have this creek down in South Georgia that every time I've walked this creek, I'm like stepping over cottonmouths. I'm like, they're always diving off the banks when I didn't even see them right in the water with me. And I'm like, oh dang, I didn't even realize there was one there. And I've had no day I've gone there, I think I've had under double digits of just seeing cottonmouths while I'm looking. I'd be looking for brown water snakes. I got like bored of seeing I just want a brown water snake. All I want is a brown water snake or like an alligator savage or something like that. And so we go down one day, like I'm like, oh, I want to do this video on cottonmouths because there's all these myths surrounding cottonmouths and stuff like that. And I think it'd be cool to like just show all these cottonmouths. And in this creek too, they're really chill. Like I never got one to even gape, like open its mouth up and just show the white. Like I would walk right up to them and like sometimes try to get them on a hook, and they just like jump in the water and swim away before they'd ever try to open their mouth. And so I was like, this would be a perfect place to shoot this video. Like we're just gonna focus on cottonmouths. 2 queen snakes the entire day. Like 10 hour day, like looking 2 queen snakes. Did not find a single cottonmouth. But the days where I just go down there and I'm like, frig it, like we're just gonna film whatever, dude.
Hang out, yeah.
Pine snake, eastern diamondback, or like something just ridiculous, But if I tried to like target, a pine snake or something like that, it just doesn't happen. So most days I'm like pretty opportunistic with just whatever I see. Like even today, like I was out there with my buddy Greg and we were looking for cottonmouths again, and no cottonmouths, but bright, fiery orange Midland water snake hit the water right in front of us. And so caught that one, and it was really pretty, really nice looking female. And so that was really cool. But that also helps, I found, because I talked to a lot of my other herper friends who are really focused on like herp style content. And it's hard for them because it's like they want that snake for their video, or they're trying. So it like takes a while sometimes for them to like get that species or get that video. Whereas me, it's like I might go out looking for diamondbacks or whatever, but then I find no diamondbacks, but a Brenner stick mantis. And I'm like, oh, well, that's the video for the day. Like I just found a really sick looking praying mantis, or, oh, there's a cool spiny soft shell cruising through a creek. And we'll just do a video on that. So I'm more definitely just generalist in general, for sure.
Here's the 10th velvet ant of my day.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, but I think that as a creator who's trying to focus more on outdoor stuff, like the herping element of stuff, it's great to be in a position where you're like, I just kind of like it all, and if I come across it, like, cool, great. If I miss what I was going for, no worries, because I found 7 of these and that worked perfect.
Dude, that's literally mostly how it is. Like it's usually just like, oh, none of the targets today, but we found some really cool bugs, or we found this really dope spider or something like that. I can't tell you how many times that's happened or whatever like that. So that's kind of how I've been doing it. But it'll be interesting with YouTube to like, for example, though, like when I'm trying to shoot a video on cottonmouths and I can't find a darn cottonmouth to save my life, like I'm kind of like trying to figure out how to work around that. Like I was even talking to my buddy because he helps me plan out content. I'm like, so yeah, what do we do? Like if we're like trying to shoot a video on something and like we're just not finding it for whatever reason, like I guess you gotta, you know, either work on something else or just do something else on the fly or something. But yeah,
it's the day of B-roll. That's what that is, and then you have to go back another day.
yeah, hey, maybe that's the key. Yeah, maybe that's like, all right, we're just doing all types of B-roll and getting cool shots, and then when we find that cottonmouth, it's game on. But until then,
that's not very Hollywood of you. I'm just saying, you know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to find somebody who has a cottonmouth as a pet, and then bring it to a creek someplace, set it up when it's nice and cool, and then you just pop it on the side, and then you pretend that you walk up on it. That's how Hollywood does it.
Yeah, look at that. It's like, exactly. Yeah. It probably, I mean, dude, I see why they do it that way, though. I mean, like, if you try to be like you're this production company who's spending thousands of dollars on talent and cameramen, and you're like, all right, we're going out there to herp. You know how many days we get skunked, out there? It's like, dude, you'd have no nature documentaries. Like, you'd have none of them, dude. Like, you'd have, like, I can see why. Yeah.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've talked with, like, even having conversations with Brian Barczyk, like when he did his Brian in the Wild documentary out in Africa. He's like, dude, we'd be in some places for a week and not see a damn thing and not find anything we're looking at. And I'm like, holy crap, man. Like, you're spending all that money, all that time, all those resources, and 7 days of your 21 days have just been wasted.
Dude, isn't that crazy? Like, dude, I think even when we're talking about, I'm like, dude, even Peru, it's like, dude, that kind of like is even more like, dude, what if I just go there and I get skunked? Like there's just, and dude, it happens a lot. People tell me, like, dude, I went to the Amazon and like I had to go 5 times before I found my first blah 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 blah, or my first ever anaconda. Like, I didn't see that until I'm like, dude, what? Like, like, that's crazy. And it's cool. It's wild too, because like this Alejandro, he was telling me, he was like, oh, I found that coral snake back in 2017. And I'm thinking he's just telling me like when he found his lifers. And he's like, oh no, like that's the only time. Ever. And I'm like, what? He's like, no, like there are certain corals like over there that like people have not seen for like 10 years at a time. Like you just, for whatever reason, there's just not, like, people didn't find them. They're all over the place, but it's the friggin' Amazon or whatever. So it's interesting.
Yeah, you have to think about those times when you're actually on that trail or walking that path. Everything has to align.
Isn't that crazy? And like my buddies, we joke around about that all the time when it comes to like hiking versus road cruising versus or flipping or whatever. Like I'm horrible with 10. Like I couldn't tell you the first thing about flipping or whatever like that, or how to look for herps that way. I've always just hiked. In the past 2 years, I've been road cruising now. And I've always enjoyed hiking the most because it just feels the most rewarding when you just sporadically just see what you were looking for and you're like, whoa, like there it is or whatever like that. But like, dude, that is the most chance thing in the freaking world. Like for you to just cross paths with like one particular, like, unless it's like a water snake or like, like something like that. Like, dude, like you're out there hiking for diamondbacks. It's like the idea that you're just going to walk up one. It's like, that's kind of hard.
Dude, I remember the first time herping in Florida. I was in Florida for a gig, and our buddy KJ reached out to me and he was like, "Hey man, what are the chances you can stay for an extra day or whatever? Let's go herping if you have the time." And I was like, "I'm gonna make the time, damn it! Like I want to herp in Florida."
Yeah.
And he was like, "We're gonna go to this spot. I guarantee you, we're gonna find a diamondback." And I was like, "Yeah, okay. I've heard those promises. Yeah, I've heard those promises before. Like, okay." And we were probably out for maybe an hour and a half, and then we came across one, and I lost my mind.
No way!
It was the first time I had ever seen one in the wild, So I was like, dude. And it's this little insular island population, so he's like, they're here, like they're here. But yeah, dude, it's actually my very first TikTok post ever. Was coming up on this little eastern diamondback. It was probably like a 3.5 foot animal, but I was like losing my mind seeing that in the wild. It really is different coming from the reptile keeper perspective, and I'm sure Rob feels the same way. Like, yeah, when you see them in captivity, it's cool. You know, whatever, we handle them, we do whatever we have to do to maintain enclosures and stuff. But seeing them in the wild, in the place they're supposed to be, is a very different feeling.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a total rush. Like, you just don't get any other way.
Yeah. I've always wondered that for you guys too, because like I'm sure there's species like that like you said you've kept, but then to see it in the wild, that's got to feel wild. Like that's just got to feel. Like for me, it's not the same as seeing it in a zoo. Like you can see, like I've seen a diamondback in a zoo, and then I saw one in the wild, and it was crazy. But I can't imagine if like I kept diamondbacks for like years, but I'd never seen one just in the wild. Like that'd be crazy. Like it'd just be like, whoa, like that's so cool.
Yeah, it definitely has a different feel for sure.
Yes. Yeah, finding a corn snake in the wild was like pretty bonkers. I'm not gonna lie. I was like,
that's sick.
Hell yeah.
Of course, it was in a pile of trash, but listen, man, it was still a corn snake, a wild
Dude.
adult corn snake.
Dude, cinder blocks and LED lights, and they will come, bro.
Cinder
If you
blocks.
build it, they will come. Sorry, if you put out trash, they will come.
Yeah, exactly.
Hilarious.
Exactly.
That is hilarious.
No, it's true. It's so true, man. Like, I think about the first time, like when I lived in Massachusetts, keeping mostly colubrids. Like I had like black rat snakes and stuff like that. It's, you know, that was a native animal, but going out and seeing them in the wild was such a different experience, you know.
So
and
cool.
yeah. I mean, it's like, hell, Rob could literally drive 2.5 hours to my place and see 30 corn snakes. Like I have a bunch, you know, but it's a totally different situation. Like totally different.
It's different. Yeah. Dude.
Jeremy, do you remember finding that first Eastern milk snake?
Yes, at Nerd. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I will never forget, because Kevin, so Nerd, for those who don't know, you know, the building obviously, but Kevin owned, what is it, like 7 acres of land that was like attached to it in total, or something crazy like that. And and he's got all this tin and these pallets and stuff that are just kind of strewn about. And one of my times up there visiting, Rob and I just went out in the back and just went field herping, and, you know, garter snakes, maybe a racer here and there, and then bam, freaking Eastern milk snake. And it was the first time I had ever seen one, and I was like, what the hell is that? I was like, this thing's badass, dude.
Whoa. I've still never seen one of those, so that's sick. That is sick.
Oh, damn.
Down here, they're much more rare than they are up in New England. Like in New England, there's a pretty decent amount of them. Like I would come across them pretty regularly once I knew where to look for them. But down here, I have not seen a milk snake since I moved down here.
Yeah.
But he can spot a freaking Eastern hognose snake.
Listen, man, it was in the open. It was in the open.
We had, when we first started the Carolina Herp Society, our first meeting was at Lake Norman. And Lake Norman State Park is like 15 minutes from my buddy's place. So I used to go there fairly often, just wander around, you see little lizards and a whole bunch of different, like, very common things to see in this part of North Carolina. And so we're going there and we're like, oh yeah, we'll probably see some water snakes and some turtles and whatever. This man, like, a decent group of folks had already walked ahead of us, and all of a sudden he just drops down to his knees, like, doesn't say anything, doesn't anything, just drops down to his knees and is like, I've got an Eastern hognose snake. And I'm like, shut up. There's no way, dude. There's no way. And I will preface by saying, I have gone field herping with Rob a number of times. He has killer eyesight. Like,
eyes, yeah.
He sees things that, yeah, but dude, you see some things, and I'm just like, wow, I would have walked right past that. Like, I 100% would have walked right past that. And so he pops up, and I'm like, there's no fucking way you're gonna show me a night crawler. You're showing me an earthworm, like, you know, freaking opens up his hand. Yeah. Opens his hand, and there's, bam, an Eastern hognose snake, and we're all like losing our freaking minds. And now, mind you, also coming from New England, that's like a holy grail species.
Super rare.
It's so incredibly rare. So here we are on this random group herp trip.
Wow.
on a path that, Yeah, just chilling right there. And I was like, oh my God. If I was next to anybody else, we would have totally walked past it and not seen it. But that was something that was just like super special. Like that was a super special time for sure. So
That's sick. Holy
yeah.
cow.
Yeah, don't get it twisted, man. Us reptile keepers, us captive reptile keepers love seeing shit in the wild.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's cool. Like I said, that's a perspective that I would never even guessed, that's cool.
Yeah.
Hell
Yeah, absolutely, man.
My thing
Absolutely.
with herping is that if it is hidden underneath some brush and there's just like one coil showing, I will be able to see it from 30 feet away. If it is in the middle of the trail, I'm going to step right over it. I'm not going to see it. That is my curse. That is absolutely my curse.
Yeah, no in
There's
between.
no in between. Literally, there's
Yep.
no in between. If it is hidden and no one else would have been able to see it, I will see it. If it is in the open, sitting in front of my face, I will walk right by it.
Wow, yeah. Yeah, your brain's just like it's too easy. That's too easy. Like
It's just like I'm like thinking about like where would the snake be? It's not going to be in the middle of the path. It's going to be over there underneath some leaves, and that's where it is. But if it's in the path, I'm like, that's not where the snakes are.
Yeah.
That's why road cruising is so hard for me.
Oh,
What are you talking about?
Yeah, you're like, no, that really is a random piece of rope that somebody threw out of their car. That has to be that.
Duh. There's no way that's a snake. And then I turn around and it's like a 2.5 foot copperhead, and I'm like, oh shit,
yeah.
that's a big copperhead.
Yep. No, dude, it's something.
That's
It's
my
an art. It's an art, dude. I get why people have to put years in to get like really good at it, dude. Like it's crazy. Yeah. Even now, I wouldn't consider myself like a really good herper or anything like that, for sure. Like I'm not there. I'm not there. There's some dudes out there that are like, yeah. I'm like, y'all are crazy.
Yeah,
dude, that's how I feel too. I'm like, I don't consider myself like a crazy herper. I do get out a lot, but like when people see it online, they're like, "Oh man, you find stuff all the time," and I'm like, "Yeah, because I post stuff when I find it." But like, there's also days where I've gone out for 8 hours and I've seen nothing. I did 14 miles of hiking and I saw nothing. I saw a couple cool spiders, but like, I didn't really see anything else.
Yeah, nothing. Yeah, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a struggle.
Yeah, that was that time, Rob. What was that spot that we went to in South Carolina for that first herp trip? And it was like nothing but orb weavers. And like
orb weavers, we saw 2 black racers. Or like
that's right. Yeah,
we got hands on 1 black racer and we saw 2.
No way. You got skunked kind of at Congaree, really?
Yeah, I think that we just there's multiple entrances there, right?
I think so. I've never been, but I've just I've heard that place is just like a swamp full of snakes. Like it's just like
that is what we heard too. And like
and it was very much not. It was a swamp.
It was
full of spiders.
Spiders. And invasive spiders at that, which is a bummer. Like it wasn't even like native spiders; it was all the freaking invasive ones. So
it's great. It was a fun time.
On me.
That's tragic. That is tragic.
Oh man!
But we saw like a couple salamanders, and we got hands on 1 black racer. We saw another one that got away from us, and that was it for the day. And like maybe we just planned it at the wrong time, but man, we got it was rough.
Yeah, that was rough. That was rough because that was a pretty decent trail too, especially to be traveling with a decent. We had probably 10 or 12 people with us for that.
10 or 12 people, yeah.
So you've got people just like, okay, come on, we got to go over here, and people like
everywhere,
wander off, and you're like, all right, come on, we got to keep moving forward. So you definitely feel it.
Lose everybody.
Yeah, by the end of it, you're just like, okay, all right, that's the 50th spider I've seen today, and I'm good. I'm all set. The untold stories of herpers.
Yep. Yeah, it's not all Instagram photos. It is not.
No, not at all. Not at all. I do enjoy hearing people talk to Rob about his inevitable daily herping and his wonderful experiences, and I'm just like, you guys have no idea.
Yeah.
Also, like sometimes when I go out and I find stuff, like especially when I'm at work and I find stuff, I'll just like snap a picture with it and I don't post it. I'll just wait until like Next day, I'm like, oh, I'm stuck inside today. Let me post some herping pictures. And so, like, I definitely think it skews things a little bit because people are like, you saw this yesterday and this today and this the next day. And I'm like, well, those actually were all found on the same day. It's just like I didn't feel like posting them all on the same day.
you gotta savor the release of the content, man. You
Yeah,
can't drop it all at once.
Yeah. I used to be like notorious for sitting on content for a while. Yeah.
Yep. I think we've all done it, dude, because you get to a point where you get a bunch of content, you start releasing a couple of things, and then you've done other things since then. So you're
Yeah.
posting from that too, and then you're like, oh man, I can't believe you go back and you're like, I can't believe I didn't post this when I
Yeah.
did that trip, and you go post and you're like, man, what the hell? When did you find that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I'm notorious for that too, especially like now doing a lot of the video stuff that I have to do for the USARC social media, like at trade shows and stuff. I might take 30 or 40 videos, and by the time I'm like halfway through that, we're at the next show. So I'm getting all this new stuff, and then I'm like, oh, but I didn't post that from the other show, and that was really cool. So you go post that, and I'm like, oh, what show was that now? I gotta go back and tag where I was at. Oh crap.
I've been on that, man. I literally was like, oh man, I took all these cool pictures of all these things. Oh, I have not posted any of them. Shit. I gotta get on that.
Right. Right.
We're all guilty of that for sure.
Yeah.
Hell yeah,
Damn,
dude.
Well, dude, we kind of run up on our time, but we do have one question that we usually wrap the show up with, and this doesn't feel like it's been an hour. It feels like we just started talking.
Dude,
because,
I know. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah, it's been fun though. Yeah, this has been great.
Hell yeah.
We definitely we'll have to do a part 2 when you get back from South America. We can talk about
anacondas.
Those anacondas
yeah.
All the anacondas that were saw and not caught. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I'm hoping you get hands on one. I just hope it doesn't get hands on you. Okay?
Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, we wrap up every episode by asking one very important question, and that question is, in the realm of reptiles, whether it be something that you're doing or working on, seeing, or something that you've seen other people do or seen online, what about reptiles has got you excited about reptiles right now?
Dude, turtles.
Oh,
and
hell yeah.
And if you would have told me this, I'll try to keep it short because I know I yap, but like, dude, if you would have told me 3 years ago, dude, you'd be like into turtles, I'd be like, nah, dude, snakes. Like, what are you talking about? Snakes are where it's at. But dude, ever since hanging out with my buddy Greg's Turtle Haven and getting to assist on alligator snapping turtle research surveys and just setting traps, and then like it's like the like difficulty of like you're in like these big stretches of Blackwater River that are filled with alligators and all types of biting bugs and horseflies and stuff like that, and you're setting these traps, and then it's like you don't know if you're gonna pull up a trap and see a massive alligator snapping turtle or some type of like other turtle or just an alligator, that decided to go in for the bait or something, and then you finally get these turtles and you just get to see them up close, and there's like these huge males with these beautiful heads and stuff like that, and then just getting to assist in like the research and get to assist in like protecting that species. They're super heavily poached and stuff like that, and those sections of the river where I'm from, and so it's just been really exciting to like get to work alongside like Greg and U.S. Fish and Wildlife and stuff like that, and Georgia DNR, just working and getting to get around some really fascinating animals and stuff like that. So yeah, I've been really, really hype about turtles lately, and just I've been learning a frick ton about them. Like, they're so cool. Like, I've always liked them and stuff like that. Like, I've always thought, alligator snapping turtles are dope, but like there was all these very like nuanced things about them that I just didn't know about, and like a lot of the popular media and documentaries and stuff that people like, in the stories people like to tell about them, are not like false, but like they're not like the full image. Like, oftentimes with reptiles, it's like, sure, and this snake can do this, but it never really does that. Yeah. It like, it just like, it's like, yeah, it could, but it will like probably never do that in nature. It's like, that's kind of what I've been learning about alligator snapping turtles. It's like, yeah, they can clamp down and take, digits and stuff like that. But these are like the shyest turtles on like the face of the planet, basically. Like they're so mellow and so calm and so skittish. And like, you can spend hours snorkeling for them and whatever like that just to finally see one, it's like basically hiding from you, and it's like there's like an 100-pound turtle that's scared of you, you know what I'm saying? So it's like they're just so cool. So I've really been loving and getting excited about turtles lately.
Dude, hell yeah. I spoke to Greg before we recorded. He messaged me and was like speaking very highly of you and was really excited to hear what you have to say tonight. And I take a look at his page and was checking out some of his snapping turtle stuff. And I was like, oh, damn, this is freaking cool. I need to follow this.
Dude, he's probably going to grow a shell here soon for how much he knows about turtles. Like, he's just too good. Like, we'll be out there and like, dude, his knowledge on those guys and stuff like that is just, it's crazy. So I've just been like, herping with him a lot. And we've been just like going out and just doing either surveys or sometimes just walking sections of creek like today and looking for snakes or whatever. And it's sick, dude. Like I'm just learning so much about turtles and it's been awesome.
Dude, that is freaking awesome. We love it.
Yes, sir.
Dude. Thank you so much for coming on, man. Dude. I appreciate it so much. And if you'd like to plug all the things, your YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that jazz, this is the time to do it.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm Caveman Wildlife on everything. So if y'all want to check me out, I have the Indigo Snake documentary out on YouTube. I have a couple of vlogs that I shot like a couple of months ago, but they're like, okay. I just have been kind of like trying to get into the YouTube space and trying to figure out what I'm doing. But I post pretty consistently on Instagram. TikTok hates me right now, but I'm going to be back to posting on there hopefully soon too. So yeah, I'd appreciate y'all. Give me a follow if you like my stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
Dude, thank you so much for being on. Like I said, we're going to have you on as soon as you get back and we want to hear some stories.
I'll be DMing y'all anything I find over there that we talked about. Yeah, I'm going to be like, dude.
Hell yeah, dude.
I looked.
Spiders.
Yes, sir.
Hell yeah, bro. Yeah, we definitely appreciate it, man. This was a blast.
Yeah, this is so fun. It did not feel like an hour, so thank y'all.
Hell yeah, man.
Y'all next time, man.
All right,
sir.
Bye.
See ya.